There's a stretch of land along the East Coast that's home to an elephant selling real estate, the birth of rock and roll, a famous candy maker, and a great tasting submarine sandwich. And wait until you hear its list of famous people. This is All Request History. If you've ever wondered about the history of, well, anything, you're in the right place. Subscribe here, put your request in the comments, and you could be the next All Request History. Thanks this time to Vinny D. from New Jersey for requesting the history of the Jersey Shore, and specifically the shore, not the show. Thanks for clarifying that for us, Vin. When people talk about the coastal communities of New Jersey, they call it the Jersey Shore. It's a vacationer's paradise for fun in the sun, and its close to 140 miles of coastline offer plenty of things to do. Boardwalks, lots and lots of boardwalks. It's the highest concentration of boardwalks in the U.S. Atlantic City, it's the busiest in the country. It didn't start out famous. In the early 1800s, these shores were mostly empty beaches and grazing cows. The fishing was lucrative in the area, so there was a few inns and taverns to house and feed the fishermen. Long Branch, Atlantic City, Asbury Park, and Cape May, they were the only towns that saw any type of vacationing activity. People went to the shore to do sea bathing or wading waist deep in the ocean in the heat of the summer. Towns along the growing shores were quick to learn that after cooling off, folks also were looking for a place to eat, to play, even to stay for a few days. So piers were being built for ferry service, and they added train lines to provide more access to the shore. Visitors from New York City, Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware, and Connecticut took a train ride or ferried into the Jersey Shore to play, swim, eat, and gamble. Towns capitalized on the shore's growing popularity by building restaurants, hotels, boardwalks, amusement parks, racetracks, water parks, golf parks, unique attractions, music halls, clubs, bars, and of course, casinos. At about 1870, Long Branch was one of the first popular resort-like towns along the shoreline. It gained the nickname Hollywood of the East because of its frequent visits by the wealthy, the famous, or even politicians. The popular Hotel Ocean House was visited by the 18th President Ulysses S. Grant. The 20th U.S. President James Garfield even had a vacation home here. He was shot by an assassin in Washington in July 1880, but died 2 months later in his beloved Long Branch house. Less than 10 miles south, we find Asbury Park. It was founded by the wealthy Manhattan businessman James A. Bradley in 1871 as a seaside resort town. He built the Palace Amusement Park, featuring a merry-go-round, 74-foot Ferris wheel, carousels, and a bowling alley. By 1890, it was reported that up to 8,000 people rode a train to Asbury Park every day. Bradley was the town's postmaster and the mayor, and the popular Bradley Beach was named after him. In 1894, local shipbuilders nearby constructed the largest wooden structure ever built. It was called the Great Auditorium. It could seat 10,000 people and was host to church services, presidential speeches, and musical performances. It contained the largest pipe organ in the world. This might be the reason why Asbury Park became a serious outlet for entertainers. The Great Auditorium remains today mostly unchanged, and it's hosted performers like Victor Borge, Judy Garland, Richard Pryor, The Temptations, and Queen Latifah. And speaking of Asbury Park, does the name Stone Pony mean anything to you? Well, more about that later. Moving south again, we find probably the most famous vacation spot on the shore, Atlantic City. It was the earliest influence for many other resorts due to its 6 miles of pristine coast and amenities that operated 20 years before most of the surrounding towns. The late 1800s saw summer cottages and private homes for the wealthy businessmen from the nearby cities. Although only a couple of original piers remain today, many were built throughout its history, like Million Dollar Pier, Steel Pier, Iron Pier, Steeplechase, Garden, and Central Piers. You could find anything you ever needed on a pier, from street performers to the invention of saltwater taffy. This really came from a flooded candy cart trying to salvage its product. When a little girl asked the owner of the cart if he had any taffy, he said in his native New Jersey sarcastic tone, "Yeah, saltwater taffy." You could also find a diving horse, fortune tellers, and even go visit Big Net Hall. Literally, people bought tickets twice a day to watch a fishing net brought up from the bottom of the ocean and looked in it for unusual items. The only people who were not surprised by the obscure contents were the guys who ran the exhibit. A must-see near Atlantic City is an advertising gimmick by real estate developer James Lafferty, drawing attention to his properties. It's called Lucy the Elephant. Lucy was not only eye-catching, but she was also a tavern, an office, and she survived hurricanes, floods, and even a fire, and she still stands today. She is the oldest roadside attraction in the country. A beach that deserves its own mention was named after the forest-like trees that grew next to the beach and exposed the roots and intertwined between each other and made this wood appear wild. Yeah, Wildwood. It became a small major attraction on the Jersey Shore. In fact, Hotel Hofbrau claimed to be the birthplace of rock and roll. Yeah, sorry Cleveland. It was Memorial Day weekend, 1954, during a show in the hotel's concert hall where Bill Haley and his Comets performed Rock Around the Clock.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock.
Promoters claimed that performance is what made the song popular. Dick Clark's American Bandstand would often broadcast its show live from the Starlight Ballroom in Wildwood. And there's even a song dedicated to the small resort town, Bobby Rydell's hit Wildwood Days in 1963. Now we're at the southern tip of the Jersey Shore, Cape May. It's one of the original fishing villages that became a resort town way back in the Jersey Shore's discovery. In 1850, ferry service was one of the most popular ways to get to the beach. Cape May ran ferries along the Delaware River to nearby coastal towns in Delaware and even up the Delaware River to Philadelphia, making it one of the most popular summer resort destinations. War hero and New Jersey native Commodore Robert Stockton may get the credit for Cape May's popularity. He built a 35-room mansion here and brought his racehorses with him. He built a racetrack named Seeger that was available to public gamblers. Later, his home became the Stockton Hotel. So we know that summer beaches, amusement parks, water parks, and resorts are bountiful here, but that's not all that came out of the Jersey Shore. We got a great sandwich when Peter Cancro borrowed $125,000 in 1973 and bought out his high school part-time job sub shop named Jersey Mike's. We got family fun when the Milton Bradley Company developed a board game based on the Jersey Shore, Monopoly. Whether we like it or not, we also got Angela, Ronnie, Jay Wild, Vinny, Paulie D, Snookie, and The Situation when MTV brought us the show The Jersey Shore. Although New Jersey brought us Frank Sinatra, Queen Latifah, and Whitney Houston, arguably the biggest contribution to the world came from the Jersey Shore, from a little bar called the Stone Pony in Asbury Park. Not necessarily Southside Johnny, who named his band the Asbury Jukes, or even New Jersey native Jon Bon Jovi, who played the Stone Pony often, but the one and only The Boss. You know, this guy. His career spans 6 decades, 21 albums, 14 million albums sold worldwide, 86 top 40 hits, 20 Grammys, an Oscar, a Tony. He's a Rock Hall Kennedy Center and Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient. Yeah, that boss, Bruce Springsteen. So whether you're born to run or a Snookie fan, if you love saltwater taffy or a Mike's Sub sandwich, bet on a horse or like to ride a roller coaster, you can say thank you, Jersey Shore. Well, thanks for checking in. Are you curious? Subscribe here, leave your request in the comments, and you could be the next All Request History.